3 months ago, I made a video on Francis Ngannou leaving the UFC. I talked about how the treatment of fighters could eventually lead to more and more athletes leaving the #1 mixed martial arts organization in the world. However, in that video, I didn't talk about how his decision affected him and how it could potentially ruin his fighting career. After seeing the aftermath, was this the wrong decision or was Francis right to leave? Francis is 36 years old. For a heavyweight, he still has a few years of fighting in him, but the problem is, he's not fighting. In the last couple of months, there has been plenty of talk about his next venture. Mainly, one of the reasons he left the organization, his boxing fight with the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. By the looks of it, that's not happening. It was kinda outrageous to think it was happening. If you look at it from a different perspective, it's a fight between a former UFC heavyweight champion that is no longer connected with the organization versus a heavyweight boxing champion of the world. It was never going to happen without the backing of Dana White. That's what Tyson probably thought would happen. Similar to the Conor and Floyd match. Basically, Francis isn't worth anything to Tyson Fury at this moment. So if that fight is off the table, what are the other options for the Cameroonian? There have been talks of Francis fighting Deontay Wilder, and this has been confirmed by both fighters involved.
Okay, you and Ngannou, how about that one?
About, yes, Tyson Fury, but mostly about Deontay Wilder who step up. I'm really like, okay, I want this fight. I want to do this one boxing, one MMA, even though I'm not sure about the MMA part.
Wilder actually wanted to do one fight in boxing, and the other one under the rules of mixed martial arts, which surprisingly, Francis declined. It looks as though Francis is only focusing on boxing at this point in his life.
But it's potentially something I definitely gonna be fighting boxing at some point soon. Maybe, yes, at some point this year.
How realistic is it that they fight? It's hard to tell. It's definitely a possibility, and both of the fighters are obviously down to fight each other. But is this the best decision for Deontay's career? Especially considering Francis is losing value quickly. I don't think it would sell as well as they think. Yes, they are two of the biggest punchers in combat sports history, but let's be honest, Francis doesn't stand a chance in the boxing ring against Deontay Wilder. Most of the heavyweight contenders in the sport of boxing don't stand a chance against the Bronze Bomber. What makes you think that a former mixed martial arts fighter could present a danger to him? In his last UFC fight, Francis won the fight with the help of wrestling. He was getting dominated on the feet by Cyril Gane, so it's not like Francis was an out-of-this-world striking specialist in the octagon. He was good, but his power was the main reason why he reached the top. Fighting Wilder would most likely end in a brutal knockout of the once scary champion. It would be a sad sight to see. He would probably make a great amount of money, but at that point, his career would be absolutely over in both boxing and in mixed martial arts. If he can't fight Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder, how about going over to some of the biggest mixed martial arts organizations outside the UFC? Well, if he decides to do that, there are 3 possible destinations for the Predator. First, there's the Professional Fighters League.
Oh my, is he going to the PFL? The PFL is going to lure Francis with very attractive pay-per-view splits, and they're going to put him on the same card as Jake Paul. This thing's going to get blown up.
While he was still in the UFC, Francis posted a picture where you can see his mother wearing a PFL t-shirt. This picture raised some eyebrows at the time of the posting, but what's the situation between the fighter and the organization at this moment? Well, the organization's president Ray Sefo claimed that the negotiations with Francis were positive. That was said this month.
That is correct. We have been, we've had a few meetings with Francis, and those discussions are still going on. Obviously, there's a few other things he also wants to pursue, which is boxing. And he knows where we stand with that too. So, it's all positive, should I say.
There's also a possibility of Francis going to Bellator. If you ask the CEO of Bellator, Scott Coker, he's not entirely sure it will happen.
I've been talking to Francis. I know they met. I know Steven met with him on the boxing side. I've always said that I think would be a perfect fit for him because he could do boxing, he could do MMA. But I don't think that there's anything close to a deal being being presented back and forth. So I mean, let's see what happens. Anything can happen, but I'm not sure that we're going to be in that business on the MMA side. Maybe for the boxing side, it might work out.
And last, but not the least, there's one championship. Even though Francis set his sights on boxing, if there's a chance that we'll see him back in mixed martial arts, it will probably happen in one championship.
He has a bunch of offers on the table. He's waiting for our final offer. For sure, one can give him the biggest offer on the table out of all his bids, but it has to work for him, it has to work for us.
Personally, I would like to see him in either of these organizations, but it's obviously not easy to come to an agreement with Francis. It's definitely a possibility that a former UFC heavyweight champion of the world won't fight in the sport of mixed martial arts ever again. Judging by everything I read on this topic, I'm pretty sure his main goal is to box, and I'm not surprised. It's an easier sport on the body, especially since Francis has a lot of problems with knee injuries. And of course, he could make a lot more money doing a few rounds in the boxing ring than knocking out people in the octagon. The problem is, he's not a young man anymore. He can't allow himself to wait for the perfect opportunity. He needs to decide what's he going to do, and he needs to do it fast. He's rapidly losing value. Both boxing and mixed martial arts are sports that evolve quickly. They don't wait for anyone. In a matter of months, you could go from a superstar to a nobody. It's brutal. And at this point, Francis is nothing else but a former UFC champion. He's nowhere near the star he thinks he is. And even though I applaud him for following his principles instead of caring only for money, the lack of planning after leaving is shocking. It was a risky move from the start, but it would have been a far better decision if there was some actual planning involved before leaving the organization. Not just talking about it on social media.
It seems as though all of us, right? I don't know that I've ran into one person that thinks Francis Ngannou made the right decision. I don't know that I've seen that person. I think he should have asked him, why? Why do you believe it's a mistake? What is it that you've uncovered? What experiences did you have as champion of the UFC versus free agent who raised his hand and said, I've never boxed before, but I'd like to?
He definitely dug himself into a hole, but I'm still hoping this won't be the end of Francis Ngannou. I'm hoping something good will come out of all of this, something that will bring excitement to the fans, and something that will set him up for his future.
It is about money. Even if it's not about money, it's about money. It doesn't matter if you say, well, it's about fighter pay, all this shit. It's about money. Everyone was thinking Francis is going to fight Tyson Fury for $100 million. They're both going to get paid next week. It's like, that's not going to happen. Francis isn't the heavyweight champion of the UFC anymore. Francis is very fucking scary. Could still be considered one of the scariest men in the world. He is, definitely. But it's not, he doesn't have that backing from the UFC. We may never see Francis Ngannou fight again.